I'll look at what's going on with Hurricane Michael. We move on in for a closer view. The eye of the storm is clearly there now, and it's been intensifying all day long. 125-mile-an-hour winds continuing to move to the north at 12 miles an hour. 125-mile-an-hour Category 3 storm, and it could intensify on up to a Category 4 by tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Now, when it makes landfall, it's quite likely to be in that neighborhood of strength. We're at 130 miles an hour, a low Category 4. It might even be a little bit stronger when it makes landfall about 2, 3 in the afternoon toward Panama City. Now, the forecast in terms of its strength could be off a little bit, could be a little stronger. That would be the most likely scenario, or it could be a little bit weaker as well. These forecasts for the strength can be notoriously off. But look at how close this cone is. That cone means, that tight cone means that the forecast, there's a great confidence in this forecast in terms of the track of the storm. Once it gets a little bit further out in time, it widens out a bit, but it's still been pretty steady Eddie. 80-mile-an-hour winds by 8 o'clock in the evening. Tomorrow evening, after it's on land, it weakens quite a bit. Now, there's a national forest right on into here, so it does have a lot of uninhabited land there, but Tallahassee is there. They're going to get hammered by that. There's where by Thursday morning, 45-mile-an-hour winds. That's a little bit weaker than earlier projections. Same thing by Thursday evening, 45-mile-an-hour winds. It's starting to move a little bit faster by this point, likely 45, 50-mile-an-hour forward speed. And that's going to enhance the wind. That momentum with the whole thing rushing forward creates a little bit more wind, and that'll happen for us as well. That's 8 o'clock on Thursday evening. By then, we're starting to get some pockets of wind and heavy rainfall. Some wind, 40 miles an hour, and heavy rainfall into the area. Certainly by 11 o'clock at night, we're getting some heavy rainfall, and likely 40, 45-mile-an-hour winds coming in out of the south to southeast. That's 11 o'clock at night. By 2, 3 in the morning, it's out to sea. Now, usually, when you're forecasting a tropical storm or hurricane, when it moves out to sea, conditions improve rather rapidly. I think we'll still see some pockets of heavy rain at 3 in the morning, maybe 4 in the morning, but that's about the time we'll start to see some wind kick in. This whole thing circulates counterclockwise. We'll end up with a northwesterly wind kicking in between around 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock in the morning, and that's going to be the most dangerous feature of this entire storm. We'll see some heavy rainfall, likely 4 to 6 inches of rainfall on that. We'll cover that first, but we're also likely to see some really dangerous winds on Friday morning. Through Thursday evening at 7, we'll see most of the rain late in the afternoon on Thursday. Wednesday, not that much rain at all. Thursday, good chance of rain, pardon me, but we are likely to see, again, not a bad day coming up for most of the day on Thursday. But that heavy rain starts moving on in, and look at this: 6 inches, 5.5, 3 and over 3/4 inches of rain, 3 2/3, 2.5, 2 1/3. So again, very heavy rainfall moving on through by Friday morning at 7. Then it's gone. Here's the GFS. We'll just let this one run, and this one's got the rain just a little bit farther northward. 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5 inches of rain. I think we can average things out between 3 inches to the south, up to about 6 inches here and there into the heart of where the heavy rainfall is located. Now, here's our future track computer model. Again, tomorrow, yada, yada, same kind of thing that we've had. Mid-80s, we'll see sun and clouds. Showers, no, not real likely. A little bit of a breeze out of the southeast. There's where we are by the end of the day, and then we move on into Thursday morning. Thursday, most of the day is kind of yada, yada, too. Same kind of thing. Not that much. But then by 3 o'clock, we're starting to see some action on off to our southwest. We'll see highs into the mid to upper 80s, and then by later on in the day, towards 7 o'clock in the evening, 27-mile-an-hour winds, and we're seeing again some of these pockets of torrential downpours moving on through the region. Now, the GFS forecast model, we'll pick up where we left off. That forecast model only runs out to Thursday evening at 7. It's much more highly detailed. This one is a little bit more blanket coverage in terms of rainfall, in terms of showing rain. But Thursday evening at 7, it's got the rain a little bit further away, but it does move on in. 1 o'clock in the morning. This is where it is at 4 o'clock in the morning. Very heavy rain. Look at the wind. 57 miles an hour at Virginia Beach at the ocean front at 4 o'clock in the morning on Friday. Those where things are by 7 o'clock in the morning. Wind, well, we're close to the center of the storms. There's not too terribly much wind by that point, but there's a lot of wind dropping on in out of the northwest. Look at that, 62-mile-an-hour winds as the storm intensifies offshore and draws that pattern of wind right on into the area during the early to mid-morning through around 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. And then the wind tapers off, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 68 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 23-mile-an-hour winds. Then the winds drop off from there. Saturday, very comfortable. Finally, below average. It'll be about 45, 48 days that we've seen temperatures above average. We'll finally see some temperatures below average coming up by Saturday. Sunday, a little bit more questionable. I tend to think we might even be in the low 70s. So the two biggest factors are the rain and the wind. Rain 3 to 6 inches in 6 to 10 hours from 7 o'clock in the evening to about 4 o'clock in the morning. So there could be some street flooding, some impact on the high end of some impact into the area. As far as tidal flooding, not likely to be real big. The only thing that I foresee is the Outer Banks. We could see with the northwest wind, we could see some sound side flooding coming up on Friday. And that could be fairly substantial for the sounds. We'll have to watch out for that. And for the Albemarle Sound and really into southern Virginia Beach as well, Elizabeth City, there could be some minor tidal flooding coming up on Thursday night with a southerly wind out ahead of the storm. And then for the Outer Banks the next day with the northwesterly wind. But the big thing is the wind. Northwesterly, 50 to 60, perhaps 65 miles an hour on Friday between around 4 o'clock and 11 o'clock in the morning. Tornadoes, not a real big threat by the looks of things right now. It's still a little bit early, but we are drawing closer, and I tend to think this wind is going to be the biggest factor coming up for the morning on Friday. Now, with that wind, Thursday again, showers. Tomorrow looks fine. Thursday, though, showers. Could see some heavy rain beginning late in the day, certainly during the overnight hours and on through around 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. So that rain ends early on Friday before the sun comes up. In terms of the really heavy rain, you might see a scattered shower or two after sunrise. But then we'll see 50, 60-mile-an-hour winds in the morning, basically between around 4 o'clock and 11 o'clock in the morning. Now, with that wind, I want to talk about the wind. That's likely to be the biggest factor. 4 o'clock to 11 o'clock in the morning. North to northwest winds, 25 to 40 miles an hour, gusting to 50, 60 miles an hour, perhaps even 65 at the shoreline. We are likely to see some downed trees and some downed branches, and with the branches and trees coming down, that's going to take out some power, grids into the area. So we're going to end up with some scattered power outages through the day. But one other thing, and I always worry about this, is trees on the north side of your house, whatever side of the house the wind is coming from. In this case, it's going to be north to northwest. So you got big trees on the north to northwest or northwest side of your house. They might come down on your house. Okay, so avoid the northwest bedroom. Don't sleep that night in that northwest bedroom, especially on the second floor. And quite frankly, especially if you got kids. I think we all worry about kids more. So have a little slumber party on the first floor on the south or southeast side of your house, away from the wind. So if you got trees that could be coming down on that side of your house, on the north or northwest side of your house, you're sleeping well away from any trees that might come down on your house, okay? So that's just a good thing to remember, kind of a common sense thing. Tomorrow, 85, yada, yada, same thing. 86 degrees, pardon me, coming up on Thursday. Mostly the same thing, but then we'll start to see some wind and rain by the end of the day. Not too terribly much wind, but we'll see heavy rain overnight and through the overnight hours into about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Then the rain tapers off, and we'll see some morning rain. But the big thing that we're going to see is the wind coming up on Friday morning. That's where we're going to see those 40, 50-mile-an-hour winds gusting at times to over 60 miles an hour. We'll likely see some power outages. We'll see 70 degrees early in the day, and the temperatures drop in the afternoon. 68 on Friday, back up there a little bit on Sunday and Monday. Tuesday, 74. I think we see temperatures drop again, coming up with a cool down after Tuesday.